All right, we're going to have a look at some reaction online to our top story today. It's time for MediaWatch, and Emma James is here with us in the studio. Good to see you, Emma. You're going to take us back to Italy, first of all. We've just been talking about Virginia Raggi. She's this 37-year-old lawyer who is all but poised to become the first female mayor of Rome. What have you been looking at online?
Well, interestingly, it seems that people are particularly obsessed with the fact that she is a woman. You might think that the fact that she's anti-establishment, anti-Europe, those kind of credentials, the fact that she's a lawyer would be of the most prominence for the articles about her. But no, what we've got a lot of are headlines like this one from the Irish Times, Virginia Raggi on track to become Rome's first woman mayor. Now, of course, it is important because we're talking nearly close to 3,000 years of never having a female mayor. But when we look elsewhere, you can see that some of these articles really are missing the point that this is an intelligent, successful woman. Elegant brunette, says Breitbart, leads populist revolt in Rome mayoral race. It is just stunning that in 2016, women in politics...
What did she wear?
Yes, exactly, are being referred to in that way. Le Parisien has done a feature on her, describing her as a woman at the head of the eternal city, and in their article, they go on to describe her as Virginia Raggi, a very pretty lawyer who's 37 years old. So the very pretty comes before everything else, rather alarmingly. If we take a look at Lobs, they're reporting on this too, and they've gone one step further, using this really rather awful nickname that she has, Sexy Grillina. It's all to do with the party is led by Beppe Grillo, and his followers are Grillini, apparently. However, this renders her just as a sex object who is the follower of a man. It just, for me, really...
Quite derogatory, isn't it?
Absolutely. And when you take a look at the kind of things that she puts out herself, this is typical. This is from her Twitter account, and that is how she is selling herself to the people of Rome, to say, I can do the job. She is not making the most of what some people might choose to, because she is clearly a very beautiful woman, but she is choosing to be taken seriously, and she's dressing in a very sober, respectable fashion.
And fighting corruption is top of her agenda, isn't it?
Absolutely. But what the focus seems to be is, let's plonk her in front of some flowers and have her looking pretty. This Twitter user says about that article in Le Figaro, why have you started this portrait by talking about her silhouette, her grace, her hair? And you do start to think, would this happen with male politicians? We saw it a little bit with Justin Trudeau of Canada, who was rather objectified, it has to be said.
More than a little bit, perhaps.
Yes, but it is still very much a rarity. Looking at some of the things that are on websites in Italy itself, Virginia Super Sexy, and they try to get you to click on the article by talking about her transparent top. But when you actually look at it, that is all it is. It is hardly racy. And this article too looks at photographs of the candidate, and they've clearly gone for ones where they believe it to be slightly sexually suggestive. She's flicking her hair and sticking her tongue out. And then we have photos of her in a miniskirt on television.
We haven't even looked at the Daily Mail yet. Look forward to that.
It is quite alarming to see how people are treating this woman.
Wow, incredible. I guess the media have fallen in love with Virginia Raggi before she's even taken office. Let's move on to another story getting a lot of attention online. This is a school over in the UK. Usually teachers don't really like people doing graffiti on the walls, but this school is pretty pleased.
Yes, they returned from their half-term break to find that Banksy, probably the world's best-known street artist, has actually created a mural on the wall of this school, Bridge Farm Primary in Bristol, which is, of course, the city where Banksy began his career. He is from very nearby, and you can see it's an image of a little girl rolling a burning tyre. There's an incredibly lifelike image of the burning tyre there. This is a tweet from a parent. Heard there was an intruder in my son's school last night. Wasn't so angry when I found out who it was. Taking a look at this as well, this is the letter that he actually left behind. The caretaker found it. It says, "Dear Bridge Farm School, thanks for your letter," because they voted to name a school building after Banksy. And so he did this work as a thank you, really, to the children for having put him amongst other famous Bristolians and people with links to Bristol to be named as part of their school buildings. Now, the head teacher says that this artwork will remain. They won't be scrubbing it off, nor will they be trying to remove it and sell it, which could be very lucrative indeed for the school. If we take a look at this article from Wide Walls, they've looked at the most expensive Banksy artworks. This is the most expensive.
Oh, really?
Keep It Spotless was sold for almost €1.5 million back in 2008. It was a charity auction. Many have sold for more than €400,000 over the years. So really the school has pledged, made a big promise there not to get rid of this artwork. And just finally, very quickly, also in the world of art, Hervé Baudry, a French cartoonist who we've used a great deal here on MediaWatch, he is one of our favourites, passed away on Sunday. Just on Friday, this was the work that I was using on MediaWatch on Friday night. The statue of the Zouave in the Seine, a superstar, he says, because everyone was going to the Seine to have their pictures or take selfies with him behind. And in this cartoon, he's got the statue himself taking the selfie. And he's done some amazing things over the years. He tends to combine two stories in one a lot of the time. This one, the words say, we want a roof. And they've got the French Open, which of course suffered from being rained off. And you've got the refugees there who want a roof too. And finally, my very favourite artwork of his from last year, when DSK Dominique Strauss-Kahn was acquitted of sex assault, an attempted sex assault. This was the image that he came up with, and he said, it's party time.
Excellent. Emma, thank you very much indeed. Emma James there with MediaWatch.